Hello, welcome back to the AJ Review Show. This is episode 3. With episode 3, another 3 films. So let's get straight into it.
You asked for me. Here I am.
You want to help me?
Is there anything you remember?
The first film you've just seen is, of course, Captain America: A Brave New World. Now, I do not hate this film. Everyone else seems to hate it, and I don't really understand why. Does it follow a lot of very similar Marvel tropes? Do we get the same sort of rehash storyline where the good guy always wins? Yes. It is the very recognisable Marvel plot. You know, it has followed, unfortunately, a lot of Marvel films recently. As everyone kind of knows, everything post-Avengers Endgame, bar a few projects, has been a bit of a flop. And a lot of people seem to think this is a flop. I do not. I don't think it's the best film Marvel have ever produced, but is it as bad as, say, the third Ant-Man film or the fourth Thor film? No, it's nowhere near as bad as those films. Those films are terrible in a league of their own. In this new Captain America, obviously, we have a completely different take. We have Sam, who was in the previous films Falcon, Anthony Mackie. But now we have a new Captain America, and I enjoyed him as Captain America. He is a bit dirtier than Steve, you know. He is not afraid to hurt people. Like he does in this film, he has some really cool moves in it, actually. He's not afraid to hurt people, and he's not afraid to do what needs to be done to get the answers and to get where he needs to go. But at the same time, you know, everyone knows in this film that the Red Hulk is a part of it. And at the same time, he does know that he's not a super soldier. He does not have the same strength that Cap has or that Bucky has. You know, he recognises that he is not Captain America, and he's trying to build something new on it, which I think a lot of people are still bitter about. The Steve Rogers that we knew is not going to come back. You know, he might come back in a different universe, he might get recast as something else, but he's not going to come back in the sense that we knew him as Captain America. I'm sorry, I just don't believe it's going to happen. And I think that Anthony Mackie is doing, and has done, a good job to fill such... It's like trying to recast Iron Man. You know, how are they going to do it without basically offending their entire fan base? It's not possible, but I think he did a really good job. The first 20 minutes of the film are no good. In the first 20 minutes of the film, I was like, oh God, here we go. They've butchered it. This is going to be another botched Marvel film, and no one's going to enjoy it. It's going to get terribly rated. It's going to bomb at the box office. The first 20 minutes for me were like, oh, okay, the game's over before it's even started, you know. But after the first 20 minutes, basically everything up until they get to the White House, I thought was just total DOS. Really didn't enjoy it at all. Get to the White House and things, they don't skyrocket, but they get steadily better. I would say they get steadily better till everything to the last scene of the film, which is really unfortunate, because the last scene of the film, essentially the final 5 to 10 minutes, is when we get to see Red Hulk.
You don't even know what this is.
So obviously they had to, very unfortunately, recast who played Ross before. Obviously now Harrison Ford is in it. What would I say about Harrison Ford's role and acting? It's Harrison Ford. He's not going to ever put in a bad performance. You know, even in Indiana Jones, he doesn't put in a bad performance. His age, is it a limiting factor? Yeah, of course it is. He's not a young man anymore, you know. Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and now he's in Marvel. He has carried 3 of the biggest, or some of the biggest, franchises in the world. He's now an old man, you know. There is a limit to what he can do. Acting-wise, he's absolutely fine. But equally, I find it hard to believe, if you might have seen the interview where he's talking about, you know, money silencing the thing in his head that might make him think he looks stupid playing the Hulk. It's hard for me to believe that Harrison Ford at this point is doing anything for any other reason really than to further his bank account balance before he kicks the bucket. I like Harrison Ford. I think he's a fantastic actor. He's been in some fantastic roles. But he, you know, the amount of money that Marvel must have thrown his way for him to step into these shoes is crazy. And it's a real shame that we only get to see Red Hulk in the final 5 to 10 minutes of the film. We get a really cool fight, but it ends very anticlimactically. I'm not going to spoil it exactly, but it is a bit of an anticlimax, which is a shame. But Harrison Ford in it is good. Why is he doing the role? I don't really know. Also, towards the end of the film, I thought was actually quite high stakes. I think a lot of people do have a problem with the last bit of the film, but just before the last bit of the film, there's some really cool high stakes moments. Everything's on the brink of war, people are fighting over stuff, it's the Americans versus this country and that country, and everyone's trying to get their hands on something. So it's very similar to the second Captain America film, Winter Soldier. I'm not comparing the two in quality, but they are similar films. They're quite a lot to do with politics in it, and who's working with who's playing who, you know, who's really the person putting the strings. So
Captain America. You ever ask yourself who's playing who?
They have tried to replicate something similar to the Winter Soldier. It's nowhere near as good as Winter Soldier, but it's still pretty good. Another two problems I have with the film: Danny Ramirez, who plays the new Falcon, utterly forgettable, unfortunately. Reasonably funny. I think he's sort of trying to pull like a Paul Rudd, you know, humour, and it doesn't really land. I haven't watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show. I do not believe that you should have to watch a TV show to understand a film. Just a personal opinion of mine. I don't care about the stuff that Marvel, you know, just craps out on a conveyor belt at, you know, 10 series a goddamn week or whatever it is. So no, I haven't seen the show, so I haven't built the same connection that I'm sure other people have with Danny Ramirez, or with Isaiah, although I actually really liked his role in it. I thought he was, unfortunately, he kind of gets forgotten about, and he sort of gets left in the back, but it does provide the grounding for the film. But Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon has a few funny moments, not particularly well written, but is replaceable and forgettable. And to be honest with you, I thought he did just get forgotten towards the end of the film. You know, it's a film that's trying to set up Captain America, and I feel like a lot of what Marvel does now is just trying to set up the next Endgame, the next Thanos, the next big thing. I don't think it works particularly well. Shira Haas. So if you've seen the trailers, there's quite a tough looking woman. She's basically brought in to replace Black Widow in the same sort of role that Black Widow has in Winter Soldier. Shira Haas is in this. So she was raised in the same place that Natasha was, and she's the security, like the right-hand man of the president security-wise. She is so boring. She is so boring. She is no charisma on screen whatsoever. The stuff she does is just like, obviously I understand that she was supposedly within the universe trained at the same place as Natasha, but she just doesn't bring anything new to the table whatsoever. It's just like, oh yeah, cool, we saw Natasha do that in the last, you know, since Avengers, since Iron Man 2. It just didn't feel like they was really bringing anything new to the table with her. Dull motivations as well. Seemingly motivated by wanting to keep the president safe, but honestly, it was just boring watching her. Everything she sort of did just bored me, and I just didn't care for her role. Another huge waste. It's crazy that he's even coming this far down my list, given that he's a bit of an A-lister now. Giancarlo Esposito, very well known for being in Breaking Bad, Mandalorian, utterly forgettable in this, which is a horrendous thing to say, but he's just not particularly well written. He's not utilised. He's supposed to be Sidewinder in it, the character that I honestly have never heard of. And he has a couple of moments in the film. He's a fight with Cap, but he's just like the strangest extra in a film ever. He has a couple of fights, gives him a bit of information. It's just not utilised at all for someone of his wealth of knowledge and acting ability. To just stick him in a sidekick role that really has nothing to do with it was just a very odd choice. You know, he could have been the main villain. You could have got rid of everything else happens, and you could have had just had Giancarlo Esposito, Sidewinder, as the main villain. But I think if you know anything about the film and how the film was made and the writing of everything, it was very heavily edited, reshot, recut, rewritten. So it is understandable. To wrap it up, a very odd throwback to the original Hulk film. I'm not going to go into that too much. It just was a very strange throwback. I don't understand why all of a sudden they're deciding to reference Ed Norton's The Hulk when we have Ruffalo. It's never been referenced before, and all of a sudden they've decided, you know, all these years later, oh yeah, let's start talking about the original Incredible Hulk. Odd choice. They bring back too many things from that film that just no one cares about, frankly. So, yeah, it's a kind of an odd choice. And the last thing I have to say is give us more of the new Captain America. I would like to see him do something. They talk about, you know, reassembling the Avengers was part of the film. I said this a couple of weeks ago, I said this in my review on Letterboxd. I don't care about the new Avengers. I don't care about anything they're doing with them. I just don't care for it, unfortunately. I like my Avengers old and wrinkled and fighting Thanos. All this new Avengers stuff, Young Avengers stuff, I just don't care for it. I think it's going to really flop. Give us more Captain America though. I enjoyed it. Oh, and the end credit scene, if you haven't seen it, don't bother staying for. It just states something that we already know. It's not worth it at all. I would give this 3 stars out of 5. Could push it to a 4 for enjoyment, but it's a 3 stars. It's okay.
You want me? Come and get me!
Okay, up next we have...
Oh, that's odd. I don't remember locking this.
You wouldn't happen to remember if my aunt had a wind-up toy monkey at the yard sale?
Oh, not a cherished childhood memory now, was it?
No!
Of course, the film you have just seen is The Monkey. Okay, so, The Monkey, what did I think? Thank you for asking. It's a funny, silly, odd little film. I thought the trailer was very misleading, unfortunately. I didn't really see why they made the trailer seem like it was going to be such a scary horror film. Like, the trailer gave away very little, which is great. The trailer shouldn't give away much. Well, the early trailers didn't give away much. If you look at the trailers now, I'm beginning to sound like an old record here, but trailers give away too much about the film. But at the start, it made it look like it was going to be very dark, very horror-related, and build up a lot of tension. Unfortunately, when you watch the film, it's just full of gore. It's a very gory film with not a lot else. The story is very basic. It doesn't really go anywhere. The story doesn't evolve that much. The plot doesn't evolve that much. Basically, the idea of the film is there are 2 brothers who find a wind-up symbol monkey, when they're young, and they don't know they don't know where it's come from or whatever. They just find it, and they twist the key in the back of the monkey, and weird stuff starts to happen to people around them. So they try to get rid of the monkey comes back, and the story just kind of follows the 2 of them and this evil devil monkey. The monkey's a cool concept. I really like the concept of the monkey. The fact that there's something that could be that evil in the world, I just thought it was very enjoyable. And given that the monkey says nothing, does nothing, is completely inanimate except when, after they've wound him up and he's drumming, he's very creepy.
Right. It's a toy monkey?
It's evil. It's basically the devil.
I've looked at quite a lot of photos of the monkey because of the review and all that. It's a creepy looking monkey, you know, the fact it's got real teeth in it. It's a disturbing monkey. The monkey's cool. But outside of that, like I said, the plot is very limited. It's a fun film to watch, but it does get a little bit tiring towards the end. It's like, if you've ever seen the Terrifier series, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They are fun films, but you get towards the end and it's a bit like, okay, you know, I've seen this person get maimed and that person get this and there's blood over there and vomit and blah, blah, blah. And by the end of it, I'm just sort of like, yeah, you can really like wrap this up whenever you feel like it. It's not going to make that much difference anymore. It's a gory film. It's funny. The acting in it is pretty good. Theo James plays the lead in this film. So the brothers are twins, so he plays both of them when they've grown up.
Hello, brother.
Bill.
The monkey that likes killing our family. It's back. It must be vanquished.
Why don't you vanquish it, huh, Bill?
I haven't seen him in anything. You will know him as basically he's the douchebag in the first In-Betweeners film who takes all of Simon's clothes, and he was also in the Divergent series, which I haven't seen, but you know, you would recognise him if you saw him. If you've seen the trailer, you'd definitely recognise the guy. I'd be surprised if he didn't go on to get anything else after this, because given how limited the script is and the story, I think he actually does quite well. Like I said, they're both the twins who are completely opposite in personality, diametrically opposed, but plays both of them really well. And like I said, it's fun. Besides that, there isn't really a whole lot of other roles. The director, Oz Perkins, also shows up as a cameo as their uncle, and Elijah Wood shows up for a very brief 5 minutes, which was odd. Adam Scott again, brief 5 minutes. So I don't know how they managed to get these sort of well-known actors just to literally pop up for a scene or two, but they're there. It's good. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be, and it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. I thought they would really try to make it scary. You know, it's an adaptation of a Stephen King book. The last adaptation I saw of a Stephen King book was It, which is a scary film, and it builds suspense well. There's a little bit of suspense at the start of this film, but once they've done a couple of the things that the monkey does, it does get a bit repetitive, and they just sort of start chopping through stuff. So, I don't know, you get a bit desensitized to it towards the end.
Everybody dies. And that's life.
And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. The monkey is good fun. I enjoyed it. The acting's all right. The story is very limited. There's lots of gore. If you're a fan of slashers and gore, this is definitely a film for you. Yeah, I would give it 3 stars. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's relatively short. It's under 2 hours, so it's just a fun film. 3 stars. That's The Monkey.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, on to our final film of the show.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch.
The film you have just seen is Heart Eyes. So I'm not really going to dignify this film with too much time. I hated it. I hated it from the first minute to the last minute. It's a terrible film. You know, one of the films where you sit down and you think, my God, how did anyone ever give anyone any money or any idea that, hey, yeah, this is a good idea. You wrote this, you're a talent. You know, we're going to give you millions of pounds to go and make this film. It's one of those films. It's like, if you've ever seen Megan or the first Suicide Squad film, it's one of those just, how on earth did anyone have this idea? The idea, I feel like maybe if it was executed very differently, might not have been that bad. But the execution and everything you watch is just so god-awfully boring. It's predictable, it's boring, it's badly acted. The love story in it is dull and also very predictable. It's not remotely believable. It's not scary. The film isn't scary. It didn't make me jump, and it's full of plot holes and just ideas that are so convenient. It's like, oh God, I've got to find a mouse to a computer, or the world's gonna blow up. Oh, I have a mouse. I've had a mouse. It's that level of convenience. You know, it's like, oh God, we need a gun. Oh look, there's a gun. It's so boring and monotonous. I'll go into it in a little bit more detail. Like I said, it's not scary. If you watch the trailer at all, you would see that it's not a scary film. If you haven't watched the trailer, don't even bother watching the trailer, because you shouldn't watch this film. But the trailer kind of tells you everything you need to know. The premise is that there's a guy who wears a mask with heart eyes on it that goes around killing people on Valentine's Day. He goes around killing couples. So the first premise of the film is like, it doesn't really make any sense that he's trying to kill these two because they're not a couple in the film. There's some really weird, awkward scenes where they interact with the woman's ex and the ex's new girlfriend, which just come to nothing. Like, he's there for absolutely no reason. It doesn't add anything to the film. The killer is the only other person in the whole film that gets mentioned by name but doesn't get explained. So it was just like, he came onto screen, it was like, oh, it's that guy. He's not killing anyone at the time. He's not got the mask on, but he's like, oh yeah, it's that dude. It's that, honestly, they may as well have him wearing a t-shirt as, yeah, I'm the Heart Eyes killer. It's so poor. I mean, I knew it was going to be poor. It wasn't my choice to go and watch the film, but I ended up seeing it anyway. Otherwise I would have given it a goddamn wide berth, and I suggest you do as well. But from the first kill, it's just like, oh, so this is, you've set your standard already of predictable and convenient. It's just convenient. The whole film was based on convenience. Like I said, I didn't hate the idea if it had been executed differently. The ending is also just boring. It's supposed to say something about Valentine's Day, and how it's just an empty holiday and it's full of just buying stuff and it's just for the economy and blah blah blah. But it doesn't really. It's just, it doesn't go anywhere. All you end up with at the end is just these two people who are in a relationship together, and it's just a poorly put together love story with some violence in between and a lot of predictable outcomes. It really is just a terrible, terrible film.
This is more than just murder. He's like Cupid with a kink.
It's a 1 star. There's nothing else I can say about it. It's not everything it tries to do, it doesn't do. And there was one scene where I think I laughed a little bit, where the main woman in it is interacting with her female best friend, and I think there was one thing that the female best friend said that I was like, oh yeah, that wasn't awfully written, I guess. It's a terrible, terrible film. There was no point in any of it. The heart eye stuff doesn't make any sense. The only connection it has is that it's done on Valentine's Day, and occasionally he uses an arrow. Other than that, it's just a film about senseless murder, really. But not enjoyable senseless murder. It's lazy. Oh, the CGI is terrible as well. Yes, the CGI is terrible as well. The kills he makes don't even look believable. It looks like someone's just like taken a freeze frame, cut a little bit of skin out, and just dragged it off the screen. It's a terrible, terrible film. Please don't give him any of your money. Don't even go as a joke. It's not even a film that you can enjoy as a joke, I don't believe. It's just terrible from start to end. It's 1 star. Arguably, it's a no-star film. It's just awful.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy V-Day!
Get killed, all right?
What was...
Why would he say that?
Whew, okay, we got that out of the way. I made it through the Heart Eyes review without smashing things, so I think I'm quite proud of myself for that. That is the end, sadly, of the 3rd episode. I just want to say quickly that I really appreciate all of the support I've had so far on doing these episodes. Lots of comments, likes, views. If you guys could check the shorts out as well, that would be greatly appreciated. But thank you so much for watching another episode. That's been AJ Reviews. If you enjoyed watching, please drop me a subscribe down below. Leave a like and a comment. If you look up AJ Reviews 101 on Instagram, drop me a follow on there. And the letterbox is just the same. That's where I leave all my longer reviews. Thank you very much for watching.